a group discusses Ever's controversial claims about a groundbreaking achievement related to protocore technology. As protists, they support advancing protocore tech, but question Ever's sketchy methods. They mention the Fountain of Eitei has reignited attacks from purists who oppose protocore development. The group plans to transport the Spacium core secretly due to targeting by radical purists. Andrews surprisingly defends some purist perspectives, noting that humans have only researched less than 10% of protocore's potential and should maintain respect for the unknown. They discuss how protocore technology has rapidly developed and integrated into daily life. Despite purist objections, humanity now depends on protocores for improved quality of life, fighting wanderers, and exploring deep space tunnels. The protagonist appears to support technological progress. The team works on storage intake procedures for metaflux levels during their final shift together. They plan to celebrate with late-night snacks after completing their work. A mysterious figure confronts someone in a weakened state, mentioning shared history with Josephine at the Gaia Research Center. The figure reveals the person was born in deep space and is a unique creation who holds secrets to the Fountain of Eitei as a key. The scene shifts to someone mentioning a 7-year promise and needing to visit an emissary. They wonder about the emissary's life during these years before becoming confused about finding themselves near a library unexpectedly. A character warns someone about wandering into dangerous territory during Chiron's triennial Zalion hunt. Beyond a certain line lies the killing zone where surveillance drones register anyone who enters as a participant, making them targets for criminals in the N109 zone. A self-described ferryman on the river Styx offers to guide the protagonist through Chiron. The killing zone spans 8 streets, with the arena in Chiron's central district as its epicenter. The guide provides an ID camouflage chip to mask biometric data. The guide explains the hunt's primal nature, where people become hunters and prey, fighting for a gold coin that grants one wish from Chiron's lord. The last person standing in the central arena wins. Participants use various weapons, including evil weapons, protocol weapons, and even wanderers. The scene shifts to a bar where people are placing bets on the hunt. Dimitri, revealed to be the Lord of Chiron and host of the Zalion hunt, appears. A character named Aslan introduces himself and offers special services beyond food and drink. The guide philosophizes that fighting, killing, and surviving by any means necessary has always been the way of life in the M109 zone, with or without the Zalion hunt. The cycle of violence continues perpetually in this area. A confrontation occurs where someone possessing a special protocore, possibly an Aether core, is questioned about their presence in the M109 zone. The questioner warns that making moves gives opponents openings, suggesting caution. The character explains that the M109 zone has undergone multiple reconstructions since 2034, making old maps useless. When asked about someone's whereabouts, they reveal the person just left town and won't return for at least a month. Discussion turns to the hunt's participants, noting that fewer than 30% are actually there for the coin. In the M109 zone, what matters more is the desire to hunt, thirst for bloodshed, craving for domination, or proving loyalty. The finals of the hunt will start soon and end quickly, never lasting beyond 6 or 7 days. This year's hunt has higher stakes, and afterward, the arena will be demolished as its aging owner loses power, with vultures already planning an overtime match. A boss character instructs subordinates about handling goods and troublemakers. They mention meeting people claiming to have a profitable deal but suspect ulterior motives, preferring a direct approach rather than waiting for others to make their move. A confrontation erupts involving antimatter weapons. During a chase scene, the protagonist and their companion narrowly avoid crashes while being pursued by attackers, putting up a significant fight. After what appears to be a deliberate crash, one character acknowledges there's no turning back. They discuss how a life taken cannot be repaid but the speaker reluctantly agrees to help, claiming they're not as clever as their companion. Two individuals are engaged in a tense conversation about a Zalion hunt. One appears to be making a proposition to the other, suggesting a financial arrangement. The conversation has undertones of manipulation, with one party referring to the other as kitten and mentioning they're not an altruistic philanthropist. A betting scenario unfolds where one character has placed a wager on the other, putting them at the highest odds in some kind of game. There's an invitation to match the bet, revealing a competitive dynamic between them. The atmosphere is tense, with underlying threats as one character pleads not to be hurt. An incident has occurred involving a wanderer, with one character accusing the other of rushing in recklessly. There's reference to the association having trained someone well, suggesting some kind of professional organization is involved. The conversation reveals a mistake was made during an attempted kill. The scene shifts to a more intimate moment where one character is tending to the other's wounds. There's concern about pain and an admission of lying about a healing solution. The conversation touches on philosophical themes about souls being precious gifts to humanity despite weighing only 21 grams. Danger surrounds the characters as they discuss antimatter weapons and hyenas lying in ambush. They discover a tracking device indicating they're being hunted. The location is deemed unsafe, forcing them to move. The conversation suggests they're dealing with a hierarchical enemy group that has a leader with a central control unit. The pair searches for food while discussing their next moves. One character comments on the emergency rations available. They talk about painkillers and whether taking them is wise given the need to stay alert. One assures the other of their safety, claiming their presence is more than enough. The conversation shifts to a rare car called the Slaverno, described as the last model this company produced before going bankrupt. It represents an embodiment of ambition that died 60 years ago. The dialogue becomes reflective about dreams and ambitions that wither before their time. Plans are made to sleep for the night and move at dawn. There's disagreement about whether to split up, with one character questioning if this is just another link on mission. The conversation suggests a complex relationship between the two, with underlying tension about their association. The scene changes to what appears to be a restaurant setting where one character is encouraging the other to eat. There's talk about dishes on a connoisseur's menu, telling stories from the N109 zone. A bill is presented, followed by cryptic instructions about inputting numbers into a map. A tense exchange occurs regarding a deal and an arena pass. One character reveals they've destroyed a gold coin by feeding it to a wanderer to eliminate loose ends. They're interrupted by the realization they're being followed and propose a temporary truce to fight their way out. The characters engage in some kind of chase or combat scenario, with comments about driving skills. One mentions they just grabbed a bite to eat, but couldn't get what they actually wanted. The conversation reveals the gold coin would normally be the key to go underground and meet our Lord of Chiron. The scene dramatically shifts to what appears to be a research facility. An automated system detects and verifies identities, welcoming back researchers and a subject 001. The system analyzes the subject's emotional state, detecting confusion, weariness, anxiety, and physical pain signals. A researcher greets subject 001, calling them our little bomb. They reveal this place is where the subject was born and raised as if you were our own child. The researcher explains they're the only one who remained after a chrono rift catastrophe disbanded the team. The researcher begins explaining the subject's origins, describing a beautiful cycle that represents the subject's life and power. They reveal that in 2034, humanity received a signal from deep space about a planet achieving immortality through an inexhaustible cosmic energy source. The explanation continues about experiments conducted to recreate cosmic energy through collisions. Unexpectedly, the energy manifested inside a child, the subject. The power grew like a planet, peaked on day 27, decayed by day 36, disappeared by day 41, followed by an explosion, only to reconstitute itself afterward. a revelation unfolds about someone possessing an Aether core with power equivalent to a planet's energy. The speaker admits their team debated whether to raise this person normally or use them as a resource, facing immense temptation and endless discussions. The Chrono Rift catastrophe interrupted their deliberations. The speaker expresses deep regret over their actions, lamenting the loss of their career, dreams, and colleagues. Despite this loss, they urge the listener to fix their mistakes. Someone threatens to neutralize the protagonist using antimatter capabilities. They claim the protagonist never belonged in this world, blaming them for the Chrono Rift catastrophe and the Wanderers. The antagonist declares humans were foolish to try controlling such power. The antagonist continues their tirade, calling the protagonist the world's calamity, responsible for monsters and the cosmic void. They reveal they've always been determined to destroy the protagonist, feeling vindicated by time and ready to finish what they started. After an explosion, someone helps the protagonist escape a collapsing structure. The rescuer instructs them to watch and remember their escape method. Soon after, a tense exchange occurs regarding a deal and soul surrender, with accusations of foolishness and arrogance. Someone claims to know who's behind the antimatter and taunts their opponent to remember who brought about their downfall. The scene shifts to a conversation about memories and identity, with one character binding another's soul to them for eternity. A conversation about teamwork occurs, questioning preferences between teammates who steal points or can't keep up. The scene transitions to someone waking up after being asleep for days, with the Zalion hunt having ended and overtime almost over. Someone teases another about table manners before revealing a biometric key from the Gaia Research Center. The conversation turns to theft techniques growing sloppier, with one character questioning if the other plans to headbutt them to death before looting their body. A tense exchange suggests one must kill the other. One character questions whether their meeting in the N-109 zone was coincidental and references Dimitri's earlier statements. Later, they offer to help the other control their devastating power. The scene shifts to someone returning from leave. A discussion about emissaries who communicate with godlike entities ensues, along with rumors of an impending mass extinction. They reference strange omens before the 2034 Chrono Rift catastrophe. A philosophical lecture explores life, death, and immortality through medical technology. The speaker questions whether conquering death means controlling it, and whether modified humans can still be considered human, challenging the definition of human existence. A news controversy surrounds Dr. Zane, who refused to prioritize a government official's child over a more urgent patient. Later, someone receives information about a research team that discovered mysterious pictographs in an Arctic ice cave 14 years ago. A public announcement mentions the Fountain of Eitei initiative and urges citizens to stay safe. Reports circulate about the Altarum appearing at Azure Square and Imperial Ring Park, adding to the world's troubles, alongside Wanderers. During a walk, one character senses something troubling the other. A flashback recalls the accusation that the protagonist is the world's calamity. The conversation reveals they were almost destroyed in the N-109 zone. One character gives the other a gift as a celebration of their arrival in this world. They warn about challenges ahead and encountering people with ill intentions, emphasizing the importance of being confident in one's choices and acknowledging some actions can never be undone. At the hospital, Dr. Zane demonstrates exceptional composure while directing his team. He instructs Grayson to contact Dr. Joel at Shansha Hospital regarding protocol syndrome patients, emphasizing the need for a new treatment plan for a patient with abnormal symptoms in bed number 12. Junior staff members admire Dr. Zane's composure despite him not being much older than them. They note the vast difference in capability between them, describing it as the gap between gods and mortals, and resolve to support him by performing their duties well. Dr. Zane discusses joining the Fountain of Eitei research project with Dr. Noah, who observes that Zane makes decisions quickly when related to a certain incident. Noah suggests the past might both bind and drive him, advising Zane not to shoulder everything alone. Dr. Zane visits a bakery just before closing, ordering desserts to go and arranging for daily deliveries to an address for the next month. The staff mentions he's already reached their highest tier for award points, suggesting he's a regular customer. A tense scene unfolds with someone pleading to save their son, who hasn't yet transformed into a monster. The response is harsh. Saving him would be pointless as he's beyond help, despite the parents' insistence that he's still alive and hasn't transformed. A character named Judgy arrives at Azure Square Station with a companion who instructs them to act like a regular dog around people. They mention finding someone called the Emissary and sticking to their usual plan. A briefing describes special pathological cases called Alterum, subjects who retain human physical features but whose consciousness has eroded to primitive aggression and instincts. All were diagnosed with Protocore syndrome. Forum posts mention a mysterious figure called Dawnbreaker who deals with Alterum before police arrive. During a snowy investigation, someone examines damaged surveillance footage. The equipment was compromised by unnaturally cold temperatures. The footage reveals someone methodically avoiding being captured on camera. A discussion follows about whether Alterum should be viewed as humans or monsters that need elimination. An encounter with someone who appears to be Dawnbreaker occurs. The person begs to be killed rather than return to a mysterious cocoon. Dawnbreaker explains the person hasn't reached the point where death is necessary, but warns that crystals will eventually erode their body. Someone awakens from a dream to find another person caring for them. Despite resistance, they're given medicine and blankets. The caretaker seems to know their preferences well. A conversation reveals this isn't the first time such an episode has occurred. A story is shared about Zane venturing alone into Mount Eternal and returning completely changed the next day, as if he had become a stranger overnight before reverting to his usual self. The speaker suggests only Zane knows what happened during that time. A public announcement mentions ongoing investigations into the Alterum and an unidentified suspect, urging citizens to remain vigilant and avoid spreading rumors. Meanwhile, Zane recalls having troubling dreams where he forgets his identity but has a different mission to complete. News reports discuss Ever's Fountain of Eitei initiative, revealing the first phase called Val Sanatorium. The facility uses medical pods called Rebirth cocoons to treat patients with Protocore syndrome, connecting to earlier mentions of cocoons that transform people into monsters. Someone excitedly identifies an emissary. A young boy named Shuchi is discovered, with an adult claiming he's a relative's son who enjoys sci-fi and has a habit of running away. The adult insists Shuchi is just a regular pet dog and awkwardly tries to make him perform tricks. A serious conversation reveals that 7 years ago, someone promised to take a position at the Fractal Library. The visitor traveled to ask for this promise to be fulfilled, mentioning the person was selected as the emissary of the divine, with nightmares serving as proof. The conversation continues with philosophical musings about fate and choice. One person suggests that despite believing we make choices, all options lead to inevitable outcomes, comparing fate to falling snow, silent and unavoidable. The visitor leaves but mentions they'll return. After disappearing for 3 days, I've returned with news that I'll be joining the Fountain of Eitei research project. This isn't just about career advancement. Something unexpected happened that's forced my hand. Oxo Hospitals has seen an influx of Protocore syndrome patients, many dying or transforming after treatment at Val Sanatorium. Carter informed me that Ever plans to hold a press conference showcasing the Rebirth cocoon's effectiveness. I need to stop this, not just for the patients, but to correct a mistake from my past that continues to haunt me. Despite my previous disappearance, I'm asking you to join me this time. The Rebirth cocoon uses technology from research Carter and I conducted in medical school. Under Dr. Noah's guidance, I studied protocols and implantable devices. Our experiments initially seemed successful, but the results were disturbing. Test subjects transformed into wanderers, becoming minions of a protocol. I destroyed all research data, hoping to bury this dangerous discovery forever. But Carter had other ideas. He named it X-Heart and took it to Xander Sciences, where it became the foundation for the Rebirth Cocoon and the Fountain of Eitei project. Carter met us at Val's Sanatorium, having arranged visitor passes at my request. The facility's AI system, Telomere, welcomed us upon arrival. The atmosphere was bright yet oppressive. Carter seemed pleased that I'd finally shown interest in the Fountain of Eitei project. We encountered Miss Karen, a former patient I had diagnosed with a terminal condition. Carter used this uncomfortable reunion to demonstrate how fear of illness and death makes people obedient. Shortly after, we met Benedict, the sanatorium director, whom I recognized from a brief encounter at Mount Eternal. Benedict showed us their experiment called Metamorphosis. They need my help improving the success rate of treatments. The patients, all terminally ill, have voluntarily consented to participate, choosing a chance at survival over certain death. After reviewing their data, I didn't sugarcoat my assessment. Their experiment has failed. The Rebirth Cocoon merely delays disease progression, and failure likely results in patients transforming into wanderers. Carter defended the risks as necessary for challenging the impossible. Karen, a protocol syndrome patient, approached you privately. She confirmed she's their most successful test subject, but warned that the Rebirth Cocoon is creating monsters called Alterum. Having witnessed the Battle of Mount Eternal, she recognized the danger and proposed an alliance to stop the upcoming press conference. Benedict questioned my emotional response to seeing my technology misused. I maintained professional detachment, stating my interest in challenging the impossible. Though Benedict expressed distrust, he acknowledged needing my expertise. Our conversation revealed tensions beneath our potential collaboration. Back at the hospital, desperate patients demanded answers about protocol syndrome, specifically asking for me. News reports announced Ever's upcoming press conference featuring Karen as proof of the Rebirth Cocoon's effectiveness. My colleagues noted my absence, mentioning how my presence usually provides reassurance. A child patient asked if getting sick would turn them into a monster. While I reassured them it wouldn't happen, another child had been spreading fears about crystals transforming people. Meanwhile, a parent requested discharge papers for their child Lexi, despite my recommendation against transferring hospitals during improvement. A medical emergency unfolds as doctors deal with a patient whose pulmonary artery aneurysm has ruptured. Despite mentions of a new treatment from Ever, there's insufficient blood volume for circulation, leading Dr. Zane to pronounce the time of death at 2:23 a.m. Someone expresses fear of becoming a monster. A confrontation occurs between two individuals, with one being accused of being either a killer or a doctor. The meeting appears deliberate rather than coincidental, with questions about transformation into a monster arising. Reports detail disturbing patient symptoms across multiple rooms: memory loss, emotional detachment, behavioral changes, and violent episodes. A boy vanished 3 days after entering a rebirth cocoon. Someone claims they were selected as an ideal test subject, believed to be closest to success. A conversation reveals a personal connection to research dating back to medical school. One person considered including the other's name in their paper's acknowledgments, but felt it wouldn't have been appropriate without permission. A patient describes entering a cocoon and experiencing a dream where they recover fully and witnessed their daughter's life milestones. However, the dream turned nightmarish when they realized they were a monster hurting their daughter rather than embracing her. A philosophical discussion references Smongzi's butterfly dream, questioning identity and reality. Someone states the world has become their cocoon and reveals plans for a press conference scheduled for noon tomorrow, with a final examination in the cocoon beforehand. Instructions are given to locate and cut off the cocoon's power supply. The speaker refuses escape, claiming their body wouldn't survive, and insisting this approach is the best way to stop unnamed adversaries, requesting help in what they describe as their final battleground. Special pathological cases are described where subjects maintain human physical features but lose consciousness to primitive aggression and instincts. These cases, designated as Alterum, share a common diagnosis of Protocore syndrome. Reminiscences about a first meeting and research collaboration reveal a relationship between colleagues. The younger person is described as initially seeming like a stuck-up prodigy, but proved to be forward-thinking and bold, challenging distinguished professors with questions others wouldn't dare ask. A heated debate erupts about the Rebirth Cocoon's readiness for public reveal at a press conference. One argues for transparency with testing equipment and accessible data presentation, while another questions the ethics of disposing of failed specimens who were once patients they fought to save. Someone confesses to having another person's heart, feeling obligated to live meaningfully. They justify sacrifices as necessary for solving humanity's greatest dilemma. The conversation escalates with accusations of academic plagiarism and betrayal. A confrontation reveals that one person has frozen another to prevent them from interfering. The frozen individual is accused of acting not to save lives, but to fill their own emptiness and fear of death. The accuser questions whether a heart donor would want their heart beating in an executioner's chest. Miss Hunter is identified as someone who should have been the most successful test subject. Someone reveals they are one of the Cocoon's successful specimens, suggesting the experiments aim to create beings like them. A medical intervention occurs as someone injects the suppressant to ease heart strain. They mention metaplexy and fluctuations, indicating a dangerous condition. A confrontation follows, with someone threatening that a Hunter firearm can't kill a human, but a wanderer can. During what appears to be an escape attempt, characters discuss a projection that can change layouts to hide an energy core. They worry about energy overloading someone's heart, with limited stabilizing injections available. Dr. Zane is confronted about his motivations for stopping experiments that cross life boundaries. His opponent argues this represents the desires of their era that will be remembered by history, and that progress can't be stopped, even if today's press conference is prevented. Dr. Zane explains he destroyed something world-changing because it couldn't be controlled, stating, "Uncontrollable actions lead to unpredictable consequences." His rationality drives him to eliminate possibilities of losing control. A shocking revelation connects the Alterum to deaths at Mount Eternal. A confrontation reveals past failures and abandonment due to cowardice. Someone is accused of making deaths meaningless, comparing them to failed Alterum. There's tension about sacrifice and power, with an ominous warning that someone will eventually cause harm. Following a nightmare, someone offers comfort through a walk. A conversation about losing a patient unfolds. A mentor shares wisdom about the difficulty of being a doctor versus a researcher, explaining that in medicine, there's only one chance to save lives. The conversation takes a dark turn as the mentor describes the haunting experience of witnessing fear and desperation in dying patients' eyes. Suddenly, there's a disturbing question about hearing a final plea during a killing, suggesting something sinister about Dr. Zane. Someone notes that Dr. Zane seems different from earlier, acknowledging his skill at both saving and taking lives. The conversation ends with a hope that he'll find his true path. Later, a threatening voice declares someone's existence a mistake that must be eliminated. A professional healthcare service pledge is made. The scene shifts dramatically to someone pleading for distance and apologizing. News follows that Karen's poor health has caused an ever press conference cancellation, with Benedict from Vow Sanatorium prioritizing patient care. Someone awakens in medical care after suffering cardiac energy overload. They learn Dr. Zane brought them in but wouldn't explain what happened. He stayed until their condition stabilized, then attempted to resign, causing an angry confrontation with the director. The director rejected Dr. Zane's resignation, giving him extended leave instead. Before leaving, Zane asked staff to care for the patient. Later scenes show someone searching for Zane, encountering people who either haven't seen him or mention he's traveling somewhere remote. Attempts to call Dr. Zane fail as his number is unavailable. Eventually, he's found at what appears to be a cemetery. He explains these graves belong to people who died by his hand, though he doesn't believe their deaths were unjustified, or that he's there out of guilt. Zane reveals they first met at Oxo Hospital when the other person was 12. He was assigned to look after them by Dr. Noah, a friend of their grandmother. Initially feared, he won them over by using his power to keep a popsicle from melting. After the Chrono Rift catastrophe, Zane considered moving away but hesitated because he didn't want to lose this connection. Then, an incident occurred where he hurt the person, leaving them unconscious and bleeding. This made him realize he could lose control of his power. Zane left without saying goodbye after the incident. He chose cardiac surgery, possibly to heal the other person's heart or make amends. When he took the Hippocratic Oath, he genuinely believed he would become a good doctor and save many lives, including the one he had hurt. Everything changed for Zane on Mount Eternal when he killed William. He questions whether a killer can truly be a doctor who saves lives. He warns that keeping him close might lead to regret if something similar happens again. The conversation ends with a profound declaration of love.